Good day, everyone. I will be presenting advanced sentiment analysis in Serbian literature, a zero and few shot learning approach using the Mistral model. That is done by me and my colleagues Milica, Ikonic, Nesic, Mihailo, Skoric, Ranka, Stankovic, Biljana, Rujevic. We are all from University of Belgrade and we from the Society of Language and Resources, IRTEC. The goal is to assess whether we can use large language model instead of human annotators. Whether that offer consistent, efficient, and potentially less biased sentiment annotation in text. There is a rather large problem in less resource-intensive languages that we don't have enough annotated text, and that to get annotated text, sorry. And to get annotated text, we need to get a lot of people, a lot of resources to work that. And so we are wanting to see if we can use large language models. There has been few shots and zero shot good results in English. So we wanted to see if we can repeat that results in Serbian and other low resource languages. So that has specific challenges, and so I'm saying that we don't have enough, and yet I'm going to say that I have a data set which we have tested. That is something of catch-22, because to evaluate something, we need to have the data set, and we are using which existing data set, which we are taking 187 sentences from a Serbian corpus, which has done annotation in several places by manual annotation, where we have gathered the concluded on scale for 0.5 to -2 to negative central gradation, from -1 to 1 for negative or objective, and 2 to 5 for positive sentiment. And then it has been calculated in annotation algorithm using the standard method, and there was percent and agreement 82.5% and other so we have done that. The Serbian corpus is part of the distant reading for European literary history, and it is something that is available on IRTEC site as a part of Aurora, under supervision of Professor Svetlana Krstev. There is a lot of old novels there, and you can see some of them on a picture. I'm not going to talk much about that corpus because it has been said elsewhere. Here we see the balance of the corpus. Unfortunately, it could not be balanced because there was not enough female Serbian authors from that period, and there was not enough either in length to be properly balanced, but that hardly matters for this one. So this is the sentence length in words in distribution. If the sentence length is too short, we could have some trouble in some sentences to find out the context and sentiment. If it is too long, we have trouble going over the context window of a large language model, because especially when we are doing a few short prompts. So, but we from here see that we have mostly about 50 words, 50 to 100 words, the most is in that range. So that is rather nice corpus for this kind of research. So I'm going to say a few words about few shot and zero shot for those who are not familiar. Zero shot is when we can get the model to perform tasks just with instruction without any example. And few shot is when we give few examples to the model. That is very significant because we do not need a large corpora to train the model. We just give pre-train a model some instruction, and hopefully he does what we wanted him to do. This is how we have done, this is the methodology, the workflow. We start with the Serbian over sentences. The text is divided in sentences. Perhaps it would be better for chunking, but we didn't do that. Each sentence is divided into few shot and zero shot templates. Zero shot templates by adding text become prompts. Prompts are fed to large language model. Large language model give us a response. That response is not always useful, so we will further process response into 0, -1, 0, 1, and 10, which -1 being negative, 0 objective or neutral, 1 positive, and 10 is a response which could be processed, so we mark it as error. When we do few shot, we also insert a few examples which were chosen outside of main dataset to insert into template, and then create prompt with the example, and the process is the same later. We have had 2 technical setups. That is mostly because we didn't have strong enough machine to do few shots in time. So for zero shot, we have used Hugging Face library transformers, standard mirror Mistral being struct, and we have limited outputs to approximately 7 to 11 tokens. That is enough to say a positive, negative, or neutral for ease of processing the responses. Few shots we couldn't do it in time because the prompts are much longer. With the other of examples, it took much more computational time to process that. So we have used the Llama CPP optimized library with quantized models. And we have used the Mistral Bean struct, which was quantized to 8-bit. For reason of wrong response, although that is, as I explained, has proven not very good solution. We have tested 5 templates. It was originally 6, but we couldn't fit the second few shot template into context window, so that was discontinued. First, the template is very simple and just standard prompt with role play as the expert. Second, we have added the chain of thought where we have explained in detail what the model needs to be done. Third, we have tried to increase the complexity by telling the model to act as the professor of Serbian literature. And third, we have combined simple with all caps to further signify the important part and to role play as professor of Serbian literature. Few shot is very simple with examples to the limit of the prompt length. And here is, I'm going to just show one prompt, just one prompt example from simplest one. Here is the region Serbian that was used. And this is the English translation. It has proven experimentally when we tried on small numbers that using prompt in one language and text in another tended to really confuse model. So in English, we say as an experiment of sentiment analysis, that is a role, analyze following text in Serbian and determine its sentiment, that is a task. The sentiment should be classified strictly as positive, negative, or objective. That is the output. No other response will be accepted. That is the constraint. Then it goes text, and where is text, the text will be inserted or sentence. And then it gives sentiment to proceed with sentiment. These were examples that we have used in few shot. For a negative example, it was the part of the funeral, and this English translation is not the best because I didn't know how to translate kukavan. The Google Translate translated it as cowardly, but it's not that. It's a word when we use when we are mourning someone at the funeral, because he was such a good and faithful friend, and other accepted his eyes full of tears. That is words from the funeral, and no one will use cowardly in funeral. Second is very simple. Whoa, what a good woman, good as a good day. So, and third is a long explanation which does not have any objective. I surely didn't hit it half times, and the half of the mortar fell to the side, another half, which is slightly large, turned out and crumbled to dust. That is an action which doesn't have any emotional significance. That was used as a prompt as a few shot. These are the results. The best results we gained with the template with the simplest template, which is interesting. The second chain of thought with the role of expert has given rather bad results. The third, which we added Professor Serbian literature, has improved results, but still not as good as the simplest one. And the fourth has even further, but here the Professor of Serbian literature, rather than to improve that role, it has decreased. And few shot is somewhere second from the worst, but that maybe do different things, including that the model has been quantified and that the prompt is rather simple because a lot of place of the prompt is taken in explanation. Here we see the confusion matrix for the zero shot template and for the few shot template. We have the last column is errors. Here, their errors are completely lacking, but that is mostly because in Llama CPP the exits can be limited, so he didn't give any output that was, even with that, it gave one error with severe limitation. And we see that in few shot template, we have a really problem with determining negative sentiment. And in both templates, we see that we have problem between neutral and positive. A lot of neutral sentiment is translated as positive. So we are going to show some examples where it went wrong. First is where the annotators have human annotators have marked it as negative, and our model has marked it as positive. This is all from the best model, from the first prompts. In even his brains began to throb, his heart tightens. Those three words uttered by Mladen seemed to him as a prophecy spoke for a magnetic dream. So here I noticed that I think that annotators have used context from surrounding sentences, because when I see this isolated sentence, it's obvious that it has high emotional context, but whether it's positive or negative, I'm not sure. Second, the table was completely wet and the water dripped from his edges around the bit. It should be its edges. Around the bits of tobacco and cigarette ash, which I shook with a candlestick. This is some descriptive scene, and it's rather evocative, so I can see why the model had mistaken it, although it doesn't have emotional context. With rather evocative scene, he had mistaken it for a negative. And the last sentence is rather dramatically strange. Oh, if you only knew, dear friend, what delight is to shed a tear on a chest of faithful friend or a lover. And there is two additional problems with this. First is how it's ended with the punctuation marks are strange, and there is an apostrophe for shortening. So it is possible that such thing a reason why the model has marked it as error, giving completely nonsense result. So we are comparing this particular data set has been used in previous research. That is the reason why I used, because we could compare it. It is used for classification by multinomial naive bias using an additional sentiment lexicon, which was constructed for that. We had when it's used like that, it has 65.7 accuracy, and when the adding bag of words approach with the lexicon-based sentiment features, it rises to 71.9. Mistral B-instruct gives accuracy with the best prompt with 68.2, which is a little lower than this, but it doesn't require to make a sentiment lexicon for this. It's much simpler setup to run, although it does take much more computational power. It needs better machine for this. But it is much simpler to set up because a lot of that is publicly available code. In conclusion, the superior results for this were achieved with rather simple prompt in literary text. And this is for literary texts, which are not something that model has been pre-trained extensively on. Quantized models tended to strip everything that was any benefits that are associated Mistral, and perhaps they should not be used for sparse languages, or we should test those for. I will speak of that more. All caps prompt were usable in reducing errors, but they also reduce accuracy drastically. Instructing LLM to detect sarcasm, that is notable in chain of thought, has induced over-detection of sarcasm. He tended to find sarcasm everywhere when you notice him. And he also literally professor inducing more complex role has improved with the chain of thought, but decreased with simple prompt. So the further research is to see if the problem is with few short prompts, or we can run on quantized Mistral zero short prompts, although I'm not sure how much benefit of that research, because by now Mistral is little obsolete. There are new language models which may give better performance. And perhaps since we have this, compare it to the fine-tuned XLR models like large multilingual Roberta, but this also requires fine-tuning. And of course, by now we have new models on which we can test, or we can start slowly inducing these results, begin producing syntactic corpora, which we can use for further training of the smaller models. I'm going to give my thanks to research was done under the support of the Science in the Republic of Serbia. It's text embedding in Serbian language application, Texla. And here you have our emails if you want to contact us. So I'm opening for questions.
Thank you.